Channel 4.
This is Akashvani. In the weekly program Current Affairs, now we bring a discussion on India's preparedness for Paris Olympics 2024. The participants are Soumitra Bose, Media Advisor, Sports Authority of India, and S. Kannan, Sports Analyst. The moderator is Arjun J. Chaudhary, Anchor.
Today's discussion is on India's preparedness for the Paris Olympics 2024. It is a Summer Olympic Games and 117 athletes would be representing India. Eyes are, of course, on Neeraj Chopra and his gold medal winning performance in javelin throw at the Tokyo Olympics. And let's not forget PV Sindhu as well, who's won 2 silver medals at the Olympic Games as well. There are other sporting disciplines which will be discussed in this program as well with both our experts. But let's begin with S. Kannan. Kannan, good to have you on the program. What is Paris like hosting the 2024 Summer Olympic Games? We had the one at Tokyo before. This was just post-COVID. It was drizzling there as well. Difficult conditions for athletes, especially the javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra. But what's Paris like at this time of the year?
Firstly, it was not post-COVID. It was bang during COVID because even though India had recovered by then, Tokyo was under a severe lockdown. There was no spectator. Everything was shut. It was like nobody even to clap hands, cheer the athletes. It was a very, very harsh conditions. Twice a day, athletes were subject to do saliva antigen test. It was very hard. Biobubble, they were in enormous amount of restrictions. So all those who've been to Tokyo, I'm in touch with them, athletes, officials, journalists. It was very hard. And when you compare Tokyo to Paris, it's going to be a much free environment. People are talking about pollution in the river Seine, but yesterday the mayor has jumped into it and shown that the water is clean. There's no high level of bacteria. Drastic change. Yes, but from my perspective, we won 7 in Tokyo. I'm looking at least 10 medals in Paris. That's about it.
We're talking about individual medal winning performances or combination of team and individual?
Combination, team, and let's not forget now the new thrust is the gender equality at Paris. It's a 50-50 gender equality. And when I mean gender equality, it is not just about male athletes, female athletes. We're also looking at team event. When you talk of team event, it is not about hockey team event. We are talking about pairs. When you pick badminton, when you pick shooting, almost everywhere you've got these pairs. You've got men's pair, you've got women's pairs. And don't forget in pistol events, you have mixed 1 man, 1 woman. You have in rifle 1 man, 1 woman. You have in skeet 1 man, 1 woman. So many new things you're going to see. And the emphasis on gender equality, balance, and compared to what it was when Europe last hosted an Olympics way back in 1992 at Barcelona. Because I don't count London 2012 as really Europe because, of course, Brexit after that. But London really is not Europe. It's away from it.
Well, let's not forget that Paris is an iconic city in Europe, along with London as well. Soumitra, your thoughts on the Paris Olympic Games? How is the Indian contingent according to you? We have some legacy in medal winning performances, especially individually. What is your take on the Indian contingent?
My take on the Indian contingent is far more better prepared this time. Tokyo, as Kannan said, they were very restrictive in nature. That has a direct impact on the psychology of athletes participating. You look very caged. Paris is a fun city, the love city, more open. And I think apart from whether the pollution levels of the river Seine is going to impact Indian athletes, not. The weather is going to be fine. And the best thing is most of our athletes are training in Europe. And Germany seems to be the place of choice. You mentioned Neeraj Chopra. I would also like to mention Mirabai, PV Sindhu. Everyone's there in Europe. So they are preparing very well. And you mentioned your eyes are on PV Sindhu and Neeraj Chopra. My eyes are on shooting. And I think if Kannan's guess is as good as mine and we have to make kind of all of at least 10 medals, it is shooting that is going to deliver. I'm very sure the first Indian medal can come from the shooting range.
So give us a taste of how the Olympic Games is organized, July 26 to August 11. This is a time frame within which the Summer Olympic Games will be held in Paris, France. It'll start with the opening ceremony and then you'll have different disciplines, fields of sport, participation obviously from the Indian contingent as well, and then a closing ceremony to end the games. So give us an idea of how the games would be held.
Every edition has its own speciality. For example, the first time the opening ceremony is going to be different. I mean, normally you will have an opening ceremony inside a stadium, usually the Olympic stadium of a particular city. This time, the entire large portion of the opening ceremony will be along the river. So the best thing is that everyone's going to Paris, whether it's a athlete or a visitor or any kind of a participant, will be able to see France in all its glory. You will have boat rides, something that you see in Junpot, where you have tableaus of states. So this is going to be a very unique thing that we are going to see. And as I said, that every games have its own programs. They have new games coming in, some games not there. So every game has a thing, and you will see the entire world here. So for that 14 days or 15 days, the attention of the whole world will be in Paris, largely because the best athletes, everybody comes prepared. As we all know, there's no COVID this time, so it's going to be a fantastic event in once in 4 years, and particularly from an Indian standpoint, there are so many there. We have a contingent of 170, 118 people. Out of them, 71 are debutants. So when you have more than half the contingent who are debutants, can you imagine the amount of nervous energy in that entire contingent? There's so much of anticipation, so much of work that has gone behind. The government has played a massive role. So I think all's well that ends well. All roads lead to Paris, and I think we are in for a fantastic games.
Well, I think in my lifetime, this will be a very unique opening ceremony. Normally, an opening ceremony means you queue up at a stadium. There was also even a doubt at one point of time, given the security scenario, what's there in Europe right now, and also the political flux, from a right wing, it's gone to a left wing, and what could happen. There's obviously a terror threat. I don't want to name anybody here because we're not here to discuss terror. The Stade de France, one of the most iconic stadiums in Paris, whether it is going to be kept ready, it is still ready. I mean, last minute, any change can happen. So generally, people queue up, athletes, officials, journalists, media, fans queue up to watch the opening ceremony. It's inside a stadium. Depending on the size of it and high they can take the decibel level. To my mind, I think Beijing 2008 was the most loud opening ceremony. The kind of fireworks was just fantastic. But obviously, Europe, Paris will showcase, and the beautiful river scene. I think there's nothing wrong with the water. And that whole 6 kilometer stretch where you're going to see athletes, teams coming in the boat, that's going to be very, very unique. And it's not like that if you're going to sit at just one spot and watch, there will be several designated zones you can watch. That entire 6 kilometer zone, let's not forget that they've got a security apparatus in place, 45,000 people guarding, and do not forget that even from India, the security personnel have gone from different agencies. They've also taken our well-trained India sniffer dogs. They're familiar there, smelling for bombs or anything which is suspicious. So this is like involving the entire world. Obviously, there are some countries which are not in favor and not part of the Olympic program, Russia, Belarus, etc. And you have a maximum number of athletes coming under a neutral flag, which is also a great sign that, whatever be the political turmoil or of their National Olympic Committee with the IOC, International Olympic Committee, which owns the property, they are getting a chance to compete. So it's going to be very, very unique, a very high energy opening ceremony. I think it begins at local time, Paris, 7 p.m., goes on till 11 p.m. So almost, which is like 2:30 a.m. here in India. And even in some disciplines like archery, before the opening ceremony, the action begins, and just bang, a day after the opening ceremony, you will have the shooting events, not in Paris, in a place called Chateau, which is about 275 kilometers, approximately 3 hours drive. So you've got not just Paris, you've got Chateau, and there's one more spot where you have your rowing, sailing, yachting events. So this is how beautifully they've planned it, and great thought has gone into it. Zero carbon emission. So I think all in all, they're going to set it at a gold standard for any host city.
Well, Soumitra, Pierre de Coubertin is known as a founder of the modern Olympic Games 1896, and that's when the International Olympic Association was formed, with member nations participating and then hosting the games as well. The first one was held in Athens. So nice of Kannan to just describe what France is like and the different venues where the events will take place. But I'm sure our listeners would like to know how our athletes are prepared for the games. You mentioned about 71 debutants in the 117 athlete contingent. Tell us something about the Kirti program and the top scheme before that, which has been promoted by the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs. The Honorable Sports Minister has also announced that there would be 1 lakh beneficiaries under the Kirti scheme in 100 days.
The government, ever since 2017-18, launched the Khelo India mission. TOPS is a byproduct of that. So, in short, the government has a structure like a pyramid. Right at the base, you have the grassroots and development process. And as you gain excellence, as you do excel in a particular sport, you climb the ladder. Now, how you climb the ladder? Kirti is a stepping stone. Kirti was launched in March this year by the previous sports minister. Now the second phase of Kirti was launched today at the Nehru Stadium by Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, is the new sports minister. Then you start graduating. When you start graduating means you are assessed by the counselors of Kirti. Then if you do well, you get into a Khelo India Academy. And if you do well in a Khelo India Academy, you go to the National Center of Excellence. There are several of them across India, like Patiala and many other places. And then do well in international and global events and national events. You ultimately graduate, or you are eligible to enter the TOPS. TOPS, as you is an acronym, is called Target Olympic Podium Scheme. The government is currently spending about 470 crores plus on all the athletes who are preparing or going to go to Paris, and that includes the men's hockey team as well. So that's what I meant by a pyramid. You start at the base. It is right at the base. This is a new concept of the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and then you climb up. For example, there are about 2,700 athletes in the Khelo India Academies. Out of these Khelo India Academies, and you'll be surprised to know that among the 117 people that who are going to Paris, there are 28 of them from the Khelo India ecosystem. That too also has two layers. One is a development scheme and one is a core scheme. And, believe it or not, athletics, which is one of our main hopes after Neeraj Chopra and the many other athletes who have done so well, that has garnered the maximum amount of grant. The government has never shied from spending. It has given the best facilities, the best exposure trips, and we can only hope for the best in Paris.
Kannan, your take on what the government has contributed to this success through the years?
I will not say that the government has contributed to the success. I will say the government has contributed non-stop, and I will particularly praise the NDA government. I'll particularly talk about two terms of this government under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now into a third term, we've seen that continuous support. Soumitra talked about the Khelo India, which is the base right at the bottom of the hills. You have Khelo India for the juniors. You also have a Khelo India University Games. Then from there you graduate. You have junior nationals earlier now with Khelo projects being there, academies being there. You have at every level, an athlete coming in. For example, a scholarship being given. Academies are there to take care, and this is pan-India. So Khelo India is a project, and even the latest initiative launched today by Honorable Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, it aims at how large you can cast the net and catch them young. Catch them young is a very old slogan, but it applies even now. My second point is, I go back to 2 weeks ago, or even say 17 days ago, when the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had met the Indian cricket team on arrival from West Indies after winning the ICC T20 World Cup. He had interacted with all the cricketers, and he had also interacted with outgoing coach Rahul Dravid. The question he posed to Rahul Dravid was so exciting. He talked about what is India's preparation for the cricket medal in LA 2028. We are talking about 24. He's already talking about 2028, our Honorable Prime Minister. And then the same night, he had met all the athletes as a send-off function who are going to Paris, and each athlete spoke. And I go back to what Soumitra spoke on Khelo India, because one athlete who's expected to do well, win medals, she's competing in 3 events. I'm specifically naming her Manu Bakar because this is her second Olympics, 3 events. She began her speech by talking about where she began in 2017 from Khelo India and where they've come. We are talking about number of athletes, money being spent. I would like to add, supplement to what Soumitra says, that look at the kind of support staff, physio, coach, masseur, mental trainer, and also in addition, what are the efforts being put in by the Indian Olympic Association. 3 agencies, rather 4, Sports Ministry, SAI, National Sports Federations, IOA, everything, it's like 4 corners. All of them on the same page, moving forward. The number of support staff is fantastic. There has been no reduction, no cut. If people are cribbing about some coach not getting his visa or all, this is all last minute glitches. It has got nothing to do with anyone being eliminated. Obviously, there is a restriction on the number of people who can be in the Olympic village, in the athlete village. Everyone is being accommodated. They are being sent. And do not forget, one sport, 22 shooters, a support staff 18. I don't think any other country from Asia has such fantastic support. And each Indian athlete owes his effort for these camps, for training, the amount of money being spent on foreign coaches. Everything is courtesy Government of India, because this is our goal, to do well in the Olympics, and this is what will lead us when India is already in the process. There is no question of bidding for the Olympics. India wants to showcase itself as the host for the 2036 Olympics. It's a vision of this government.
Soumitra, you mentioned about chances in shooting. As Kannan mentioned about Manu Bhaker, she's participating in the 10 meters air pistol and the 25 meters pistol event as well for the women's category. And there are across the board, you have the 10 meters, 50 meters rifle, 3 position. You have 25 meters pistol, you have the women's strap, you have the women's skeet. And then for the men's also, you have the trap. You have the 10 meters air pistol, 50 meters air rifle, 3 position. How do you see us doing well as far as the shooting is concerned? Before I turn to hockey, which is another national sport of ours.
Shooting is going to be, or will grab all the attention in the first week. I mean, starting from 27th of July to about 4th or 5th of August, I mean, it's going to be shooting, shooting, shooting. Shooting is just a sport which kind of hits top gear right from day one. And it also has a very mental impact on the rest of the days. It so happens that shooting, you have qualifiers, then you have the finals. Of course, there are days when you have the qualifiers and the finals. And 27th is going to be one such day. And when I mentioned that the first set of medals would come from shooting, I mean it, because as Kannan said, that this immense amount of potential in the squad that we have, the 21 shooters that we have. And when I say immense amount of potential to win a medal, I would like to say these are the pistol and rifle shooters, not so much of the shotgun shooters, which is a very, very difficult sport where you have the Italians who kind of dominate these proceedings. But yes, rifle and pistol is where we have our best chances. And, right at the start of this conversation, I mean, Kannan mentioned about mixed events, and this is shooting. We have mixed event pairs in almost everything. At least in 3 events, we have mixed representation, and everybody is a world champion by their own right. For example, Anand mentioned Manu Bhaker. Yes, of course. And there is another person who's going to be in the second Olympics. That will be Ila. Ila is from Gujarat, and she will be one of our top medal hopes, and she'll be representing in the medal event as well. Then we have these young champions, Sift Kamra. She is also from Punjab. She gave up a future in being a doctor. She gave up MBBS for shooting. This is very, very strange. And there are so many of them who are educated young girls, fun-loving. But when it comes to the sport, they have intense amount of focus. But what goes in favor of shooting is the entire way, the NRAI, or the National Rifle Association of India, has changed the tactics after the failure in Tokyo, is that there have been multiple camps, multiple exposure trips. Many of these shooters have been to the venue where they're going to shoot. And the way it has been manicured, the way it has been tailor-made, the Indian shooters are in the best frame of mind. I mean, we'll be surprised if they freeze in the range and do not do what they are supposed to do. Because there's so much of work that has gone behind the scenes. There was a talk about the shooters feeling caged or getting homesick, don't have the support of their personal coaches. The NRAI has completely changed the tactics, and most of these shooters have spent enormous amount of time with their personal coaches and are very well prepared going into Paris. And look at the way they have performed in the World Cups and the World Championships. They have won medals, and more or less they will face the same competition away from the main Olympic village, which in a place called Chatru, and they will be blazing all guns. And then in the first 3-4 days, they will set the tempo. And if India have to go and win medals in double digits, shooting has to show the way.
I'll quickly add, Soumitra, I think you've taken away one shooter. That is the 22nd shooter, is Shreyasi Singh. That's because one quota of Manu was returned. So we actually have 22 shooters going there. Shreyasi, as we all know, is a BJP MLA from Bihar. And last point, in addition to these two athletes who you mentioned who are going to be there for the second time, Anjum Mudgil is also there for the second time at Tokyo Olympics. And last but not the least, apart from the camps, exposure, so on and so forth, we cannot forget a radical change made by NRAI was Rio failure in Tokyo meant, apart from having won the quota place, you went and conducted 4 very hard trials which gave even chance to every male, female who made the cut. They competed in Delhi first in the heat, and then in Bhopal, and then the unique selection policy was made. Weightage given to quota, how much you did, and so on, best of 3, how the average is taken, and that's how the team was named. It was a very, very, very transparent process and a policy formed. I happened to be speaking to most of them, including Abhinav Bindra, who was the mentor for these athletes, and I think it's the best you could have done. Nobody can crib, and if medals come, it's a credit to the system. That's what India is about.
Just to add to Kannan, case in point is that the first person who won a quota for India in shooting, Rudraksh Patil, does not figure in the score.
Same with Bonish Nandiratna.
Yes, I mean, these two guys who won quotas, they don't figure in the score. It's an indication that due weightage has been given to your current form, and that is why we are very well prepared for the shooting competition this time.
So Abhinav Bindra, also a gold medal winner at the Olympic Games. Let's shift our attention away from shooting for a while and move on to hockey. You have a 16-member team, in fact 16 plus 3 because there are reserves as well. Kannan, plenty of enthusiasm for this national sport. I know too much weightage has been given to shooting because from the 27th to the 3rd or 4th, we'll have the shooting events in Paris, in France, hosting the games. So tell us about hockey.
Hockey is an emotional sport for us. Let's not forget that from the time of Dhyan Chand, the triple Olympian Colonel Balbir Singh, hockey has always been there. And for a long time, we were not doing well. One in 1980 Moscow. Then from 80 Moscow to 2021, when you beat Germany 5-4 and clinch the bronze, it is fantastic. Let's not forget that India was struggling to qualify for the Olympics. We're not doing well at the Asian Games. 2018, we didn't do well. We didn't qualify. We had to go through the qualifier phase. This time, we had a new coach, Craig Fulton, and full marks to him. He won the Asian Champions Trophy in Chennai, and then he went to Hangzhou. The good thing is he's open to ideas. He's very receptive. He's not ensured or he's not trying to force his views on it. He's gone with the system, made some changes, nips and tucks. You've got senior players plus junior players, and don't forget you've got two veterans, so to say, and I mean veteran not in a derogatory sense. P.R. Srijesh, the goalkeeper, his 4th Olympics, and the captain of the last team which won the medal in Tokyo, Manpreet Singh Pawar. So you've got people who want to play. It's all from Dil Se, as they say in Hindi. They want to play from the heart. They want to be a team member. So you've got a mix of youth and experience. You've got these players who competed in Pro League. They've had exposure to. But if you think that each time you're going to win a hockey medal, not easy. But they will play their hearts out. They don't fear any country in the world today because the amount of money and which has gone in to measure their fitness parameters, their speed, and how well versed they are today with modern hockey and not what it was 25 years ago when you played pyramid 5-3-2-1. Everything has changed. It's total hockey now, and so we can expect medals from hockey. I'm talking about the word medals because one failure does not mean you wipe it off. I know a lot of money goes into a team event, but then hockey is way ahead of many other team sports in the world.
So India has adjusted to the changes in the rules of the game and of course the gear that's involved in playing the sport, and let's not forget the infrastructure as well, the turf that is employed right now. It's a more watchable sport and much faster sport as well with multiple periods. In men's hockey, that's what the focus is on right now. You have 16 plus 3. We're making it in this Paris Olympics. Let's move on to boxing, contact sports. You also have judo from the Indian contingent, but boxing, if you look at men and women, tell us about that. Soumitra, you have Nishant Dev, Amit Phangal, 71 kg, 51 kg weight category. In the women's category, Nikhat Zareen has made a very strong impression in the 50 kilogram weight category. Preeti Pawar, Jasmine Lamboria, and Lovlina Borgohain in the 75 kilogram weight category as well. So how would you rate the boxers who are making it to the Paris Olympics?
The boxers, all the entire contingent at Patiala where they were training. Boxing is one sport where you need attitude. So you look at the greatest of boxers, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. They had attitude. This attitude is a very positive thing to have in terms of boxing. And this attitude I could see in the boxer, especially Nikhat Zareen. She's so much full of confidence. First, is going to make her debut in the Olympics. She knows she has a lot of nervous energy, but she also has an element of confidence. And that is what is going to make the difference this time. Jasmine Lamboria, she regained that quota we lost. I mean, that gives her great confidence. And then Preeti, she's a young and upcoming boxer. Lovlina has experience on her side. If these boxers are not injured, you can expect at least 1 or 2 medals from them. And don't discount this fact, this guy called Amit Phangal. He was one guy who did not go to Germany to train with the team. He was training at Shilaru. Shilaru is a high altitude thing very close to Shimla. And that is where he was training. He has a lot of grudge energy inside him. He thought he was denied for some time. So this is his platform to show, and he's got that break. So, boxing, you need these elements: skills, footwork, your perseverance, your endurance, all these things are there, and I think everyone's good enough. But what you need is the mental strength, the power to box, to fight the rounds, and then stay up on your feet and hit the winning punches. I think all of them are capable, but if you really look for medals, yes, Nikhat Zareen is definitely one. Lovlina if she is fit, and my best bet is going to be Amit Phangal.
So we saw them in the women's boxing championship at the IG Stadium in New Delhi. They made quite a impression with their gold medal winning performances. But the Olympics is a different ball game. Your take on that, Kannan?
Definitely, my mind goes back to 2008 Beijing when Vijender won a medal, and then 2012 when obviously Mary Kom won a medal. So boxing has always been there, and you look at the last Olympics, Lavlina winning a medal. So Lavlina is better prepared. She's there in the second Olympics. And where I will agree with Soumitra is on Nikat Zareen. She's so full of energy. She's so vibrant. Waiting. It's as if she's been in the shadows of Mary Kom. She's now there, raring to go. They're fearless. They're going to go all out. At one point of time, say maybe about 4-5 months ago, it looked a bit shaky for Indian boxing because quota places were being secured very, very late. People are complaining that what's going wrong, but now there's no complaint. Things fall in place. I think we are looking at a realistic chance. Soumitra was probably hesitating a bit on predicting a gold medal. I will not hesitate. On a day, if you have a good draw and someone runs through, you can go through it. Nothing can stop these boxers, whether it is the male or the female. But I think boxing gives you that extra punch, especially when you know today there is a fair scoring system. Now you've got a computerized scoring system. It's very, very clean.
Well, speaking of technique in contact sports, wrestling is another contact sport which is part of the heartland, India, especially North India. And we have Aman Sarawat in the men's 57 kilogram weight category. Only one participant for men's wrestling. But in women's, we have a total of 5 of them. Vinesh Fogart, 50 kgs. Antim Fangal, 53 kgs. Anshu Malik, 57 kilogram. Nisha Dhaiya, 68 kilogram. And Ritika Huda, 76 kilogram weight category. Your take on that, Soumitra, when it comes to wrestling?
When it comes to power sports, there are two things that work very well. One, obviously, your mental aspect. When I mentioned about Amit Pangal in boxing, I mentioned something called revenge or the grudge energy. That revenge or grudge energy will work best for Vinesh this time. This is certainly going to be our last Olympics. She was a miserable loser in Tokyo, and then she went into a lot of controversial things. But I think now the way that she has made a comeback, and the way the current form that she is in, she is definitely a medal prospect for India, and why not? She has been a very capable wrestler. She has won world championships, and I think one medal that remains to be in her cabinet is going to be the Olympics. Having spoken about Vinesh, I think the rest of the women wrestlers are equally good, especially Antim Pangal, who is a world champion in her age group, and all of them are very, very capable. And they all have their best of trainings. They are also getting the help of their personal coaches and trainers. I think all of them are in great shape. And Aman Sharawat being the only male, he has to carry forward the legacy left behind by the Bajrang Punias and Ravi Dayas. Now he is going to be the only man standing there, and he also has great potential. The best thing about wrestling that it is a sport that gives you a second chance. So all the wrestlers are capable, and don't be surprised if we come back with 2 or 3 medals.
Your take on Mirabai Chanu, Kannan, women's 49 kilogram weight category for weightlifting?
Her chances are 100%. Very simple. I go back to the time when Malleswari won a medal on Sydney. Nobody expected her to win a medal. She won the medal. Then Mirabai obviously did not do well in Rio as she wished, and she won in Tokyo. She's one athlete who's preserved herself very well. She's battled injuries, she's battled fitness issues, and if you go back and see videos of what happened in Hangzhou, I was there. She was clutching her thigh and she collapsed. But again, I will go back, full credit to the SAI, Government of India. They providing her with the best facilities. We talked about every kind of backup provided. Let's not forget we have a great medical team out there, which has been put together by the Indian Olympic Association and all other stakeholders. And again, even though Coach Vijay Sharma is there, it is again Aaron Horshik who has been working with her. She goes there, and now they're at their base camp in Paris. The term used is loading. They're loading, and she's doing well. Very important point. The North Korean weightlifters are not going to be there. So the field in Mira's category definitely makes her a strong prospect. I am looking at a medal from her. I will not predict the shade. My dear friend Mr. Rohan Bopana, 44 years of age, he calls it level 44. He's there in doubles with Sriram Balaji, and I doff my hat to the man who's won hearts, Sumit Nagal, who's going to be playing his second successive Olympics in singles. Plus he's been there for all the Grand Slams in 2024. I wish them good luck.
Absolutely. Weightlifting is regulated and governed by WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. Dope, of course, has been steroid rampantly used when it comes to this type of sport, so it's heavily regulated. Thank you so much, S. Kannan and Soumitra Bose, for being with us on this discussion.
You were listening to a discussion on India's preparedness for Paris Olympics 2024. The participants were Soumitra Bose, Media Advisor, Sports Authority of India, and S. Kannan, Sports Analyst. The moderator was Arjun J. Chaudhary, anchor. The program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on a YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.